The targets that we've gone after are specifically the agencies that have had a hand in the censorship of Wikileaks. And we're sending the message to them in the only language that they'll understand.
Ah, well, that's one of the anonymous group who must, for obvious reasons, remain anonymous. These are internet activists who have declared war on global financial companies in revenge for their decision to block donations to whistleblower Wikileaks. An attempt by the group known as Anonymous to bring down the Amazon site failed, but on Wednesday it successfully hacked into PayPal, MasterCard and Visa. And indeed there is a great battle going on now on the internet. The internet has been used by Wikileaks, not just in this recent spate of revelations of 250,000 US diplomatic cables, not intelligence material, not top secret material, material that 3 million US functionaries of one kind or another had access to, but which the rest of us were blissfully unaware of. And what happens? Well, Julian Assange is now in Wandsworth prison. Nobody can donate money to WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks can't find a server. But, of course, the internet can work both ways, and people are hacking into these companies who withdrew services from WikiLeaks in protest. And that's a perfect introduction for my next guest. He's Robert Schifreen. He was once a poacher. Indeed, he once hacked into the emails of the Duke of Edinburgh. Who'd have thought that the Duke of Edinburgh was so high-tech as to be communicating in emails? I wonder if Robert will tell us what he found there. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, because he's now reformed, and he's now an IT security expert. So we thought he was the best person to introduce this topic. Robert, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, you had a checkered past. I don't know how checkered. All I know is the Duke of Edinburgh's emails were once your oyster. Did you find anything interesting there?
Nothing terribly exciting at all. I was doing it about 25 years ago in the days when computer hacking wasn't illegal, and as a result I was arrested, I was taken to court, but was acquitted because there was at the time no law that said you can't hack into people's computers. As a result of me getting off, they introduced something called the Computer Misuse Act 1990, so nowadays computer hacking is illegal, but when I was doing it, it wasn't.
Ah, well, you were off scot-free and nothing interesting.
There was nothing terribly exciting in his mailbox. He was probably present at the launch of the system I was hacking into, and there was an account in his name, but no one was suggesting that he was an avid user of email back
I don't see it. I don't see it myself. I see him as a lavender notepaper man, really.
Absolutely.
Now, Robert, let's move to WikiLeaks. I'm of the view, along with President or Prime Minister Putin of Russia, that WikiLeaks are the men and women of the year, and that Assange should be getting the Nobel Prize, not banged up in Wandsworth. What's your take on that, first of all?
There is a campaign, I think, out there at the moment to make him Time Magazine's Man of the Year, and you can see that there are a lot of people out there who believe that all information should be free, and when you see some of the stuff that WikiLeaks has published, you can understand their feeling. There is, certain things should be free. When you look at the bombers that have been freed, and we were told one story as to why they've been freed, and then the truth was something else, then yes, that maybe should have been in the public domain. But then you start to cross a line. Then you start to say, okay, if there is a secret list of potential terrorist targets, such as important satellite base stations and where important undersea cables come ashore in the south of England, and we want to protect those from terrorists, what's the benefit in having that published for all the world to see? So there is a line, and you mustn't cross it. But whereas most governments are much in favour of secrecy and go way towards one end of the scale, WikiLeaks has perhaps gone too far towards the other, and no one's yet found the medium.
Well, what have they revealed that crossed that line?
Well, the one example I gave was the list of what they regard as potential terrorist targets and what's called things that are a potential threat to the critical national infrastructure, such as satellite base stations, cable locations, things like that. There's no real benefit in having that published. Perhaps what they need to do is say, I think the problem is that there's far too much information that's classified as secret, and if you look at the cables that have been leaked, if you look at other stuff that WikiLeaks has been publishing, if you look at things that other companies have regarded as confidential and WikiLeaks WikiLeaks has published, a lot of that didn't need to be secret. And maybe what we need to do is in some cases, for agencies to say, yes, we do have a lot of secret information, this is the sort of things we have to keep, and this is why it's secret, and everything else perhaps shouldn't be.
Well, none of it was most secret, was it? Because it was all accessible by 3 million Americans.
It was, and that seems very strange. One of the things you have to do when you're looking after the confidentiality of private information is restrict it, on a need-to-know basis, and I can't see why 3 million people needed to know. As you say, it can't have been that secret, or if it was, it wasn't managed very well, so that needs looking at in a major way.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's my position, that governments are entitled to try and keep what they think ought to be secret, but if somebody leaks what is the truth, you can hardly shoot the messenger.
No, you can't. There have been cases, for example, the very, very well-known Gary McKinnon case, where this is the computer hacker who the Americans want extradited to the US to face trial. And what he says is that he was simply, he was trying to prove that there were evidence of UFOs and things on secret computers. But more than that, and also, which is a similarity to my case of 25 years ago, he was trying to prove that, there is important information held on computers that isn't secured properly, that isn't properly protected. There were, he alleges, major defence computers in the US that didn't have any passwords on them. And if that's the case, then absolutely, we shouldn't be shooting the messenger.
Indeed, they ought to have offered him a job like yours, as a gamekeeper.
There are countries in the world where things like the Computer Misuse Act that says, you can be arrested if you hack into people's computers, doesn't apply if the computer wasn't secured properly. So if somebody hacks into your computer, but you left the back door open, then that's your own fault and you can't prosecute the hacker. And I think that's a damn good idea.
Now, these companies, MasterCard, Visa, Amazon and so on, who withdrew services from WikiLeaks and effectively sabotaged the organisation, which most people in the world think has done a rather good job, they were just asking for retaliation, weren't they?
I suppose they were. WikiLeaks relies solely on donations. It's not sort of publicly funded or anything. And we should point out that WikiLeaks is nothing at all to do with Wikipedia. The reason they both have Wiki in their name is because they use the same sort of software to run their service, nothing to do with each other. But they relied on donations. Visa, MasterCard, Amazon stopped allowing this. Amazon stopped letting them host their systems on some of their servers. And the internet makes it very easy to gather a mob together and protest and do some serious damage and make your point known. 50,000 people so far have downloaded a program which allows you to become part of the virtual army to attack companies like Visa, MasterCard, Amazon, PayPal and so on. It's easy to do. You don't have to go out in the cold with a banner to protest nowadays. You can download some software and sit back and let it do the work for you.
Why were these companies so cowardly in this? The US government has said tonight that they did not pressure these companies in any way.
And maybe they didn't, and maybe that will come out in WikiLeaks in the years to come.
Maybe.
The internet makes it very easy to do this. It's all a case of being seen to do what they think is the right thing. It's very difficult to know what to do. And when you realise, you see the size of some of the big campaigns that have been out on places like Twitter and Facebook, nothing to do with major political scandals. In some cases it's the recipe for your favourite biscuits they change, and somebody will get 50,000 people together on Facebook to make you change it back. And people don't want to be on the end of this sort of activism, this consumer activism now, and they want to be seen to do the right thing, but it's very hard to please everybody.
Yes, well, they may have pleased the US government. I myself will never buy another book from Amazon. That's the only thing I can do. I don't deal with the other companies, but I'm boycotting Amazon for sure, and I would have been spending a lot of money with them this Christmas. I normally do.
You can bet your life that just a week or two before the Christmas rush is not the time that companies like Amazon and Visa and MasterCard want to have this bad publicity or have their websites taken offline. It's a huge problem for them.
Now, what does it all mean in conclusion, Robert? When you can have your server withdrawn so easily for political purposes, does it mean that the internet is not the ultimate freedom that we thought it was?
You cannot have your server withdrawn that easily. The initial goal of the Internet started life as a defence system, as part of the defence networks of the US and the rest of the world. The whole point of the Internet was that there's lots of millions and millions of servers all over the place, and lots of email systems, and if your message can't get through one area because it's been taken down by a nuclear bomb or whatever, it can get through by other means. And it's the ultimate backup tool. And just because one server's been taken down doesn't mean there aren't thousands of others. We've seen PR pictures on the telly recently of Wikileaks' bunker showing how secure their servers are. It doesn't matter. There's thousands and thousands of copies of that information all over the place. It's not going to go away. Nobody can get rid of that information. It will be there for years to come, and it will be supplemented by other people who set up to do similar sort of things. The Internet makes that easy. It's not going to stop.
And you're not going to be out of work, are you?
Hopefully not.
Robert, thanks very much indeed. Robert Schifreen, who started out hacking the Duke of Edinburgh's emails, didn't find anything interesting, maybe didn't find anything at all, but is now an IT security consultant, and sounds as if he's pretty good at it. We're talking about WikiLeaks, about the battle on the Internet between those who attempted to sabotage WikiLeaks and those who are determined to sabotage the saboteurs.